Butterflies fill my spine, I feel myself getting hot again. Nerves rushing through my brain, yeah, they can't hear fiber from the trees. You're standing by his side, red drops burning down your face. Getting real close now, baby. Holy fuck, I feel it with you. I lose self-control. Now I found that you're not one to hear me now. You got me on my knees begging for your lady. And like a fool to stand around and let you blame me. And I'm riding in the sky to the heavens like an
Hi, my name is Leo Connors, and welcome to The Ring and All Other Sports. Tonight I got a very special guest, professional wrestler John Walters. John,
Thanks for having me, Leo.
thank you for coming back on. This is great.
My pleasure.
There's a lot of fan questions, a lot to talk about, so
Okay.
let's get right into
All
it.
right.
The first fan question is actually, it's not a question. Joey Kilmartin, this is amazing. I can't wait for this. David Ratty. Joey K, one of my favorites. All right. Han Wonder. I would like to know his favorite Mike Spada memory.
God, I don't know if I have any memories of him that are good. You know what I mean?
Right.
Maybe not any bad ones either. I only worked about 4 shows for him. Were you there for some of those?
Yeah.
Yeah. When was that? Probably 2001.
Right.
I did a battle royal once. Yokozuna was on the show. And then a couple singles matches. My first 2 singles matches were with him. And then I wrestled a couple other ones, but he was always just kind of this loud,
Yeah.
I don't want to say obnoxious because I was a young kid back then, but his reputation precedes him, right? So, but I'm not going to sit here and badmouth the guy because I never really dealt with him that much. I was a green kid.
He gave you a chance to wrestle.
Absolutely, I was a green kid. He gave me some singles matches in front of some big crowds.
Right.
I know I got paid for it, and I don't even know why I stopped working for him. I think it was just one of those things where, hey, we're not using you anymore, and
Right.
I don't know. It was. I just remember him being kind of loud, and a lot of people have negative things to say about him.
Right.
And that usually isn't a coincidence.
Yeah.
But I can't sit here and bash the guy. So no bad stories, no good ones either, though.
All right, that's
Yeah.
fair. That's fair. Did you wrestle Jimmy Jack Cash in one of your first matches?
I believe
Fam?
those
'Cause
were the-
that's what I was there. I was
Yeah.
there that night.
I think those were the first 2
Okay.
singles matches of my career. The first one was a battle royal
Yeah.
where I literally didn't even have gear yet. I was wearing like workout pants. I think I got chopped twice and thrown over the top rope. And then the first 2 singles matches were against Jimmy Cash. And if I'm not mistaken, one was in, I think like Holbrook, Mass.
Okay.
Small little building. And then the second one was an armory of some sort. Maybe that's-
Nashua.
Nashua. Okay,
was
there you
in
go.
Nashua.
That
At
was.
the same place Jeff Costa always ran, the St. Stans Hall.
What I remember about that match was Tim McNeely came out and hit us both with steel chairs to set up
Nice.
the main event. And I remember how stiff it was.
Right.
Oh my God, it was one of the stiffest chair shots I ever took. So, but other than that, yeah, Jimmy Cash was a character, fun,
Yeah.
and we trained together at Kowalski. So it was one of the first guys that I kind of rolled around with
Right.
and was paired up in class. So fun matches, but I don't remember much about him. It was so long ago. Was it 24 years ago?
Yeah, it's a long time
Yeah,
ago.
I
I
would
got
say.
a question, though.
Yeah.
Now, that show in Nashua, Rick Fuller took on Virgil. I don't know if you remember this.
don't.
But Rick lit him up with chops. He had like said to the referee, watch this. And Virgil left the ring, went in the back, grabbed his bag, and left.
Wow. I mean, I've taken Rick Fuller's shots before, so I can see why he left.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, no, I don't remember that. Now that you bring up the story, it kind of
Right.
I kind of remembered a little bit, but no, that's funny.
It is funny because you could hear Spada and him yelling at each other from the back. It was funny.
Rick Fuller had big hands.
Yeah, big dude. Nice guy, though.
Very sweet. Sweetheart, yeah.
Absolutely.
If he liked you,
Right.
yes. Yeah.
Okay, Landon Connor Eisenteder. We need 12-pack stories. Him and Vince were awesome.
Oh, Vicalo, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, Vicalo and I were paired up in Chaotic. That was awesome. He was the drunk party guy, and I was kind of the straight-laced technical wrestler who didn't party, didn't drink. So a lot of the vignettes we used to film were cool. It was in a bar, me pulling him out of the bar, like, let's go, we got to get ready for the match.
Right.
And we were the odd couple that won the tag belts, and we were very popular. And, we had cool tag moves, and a lot of the matches was kind of me trying to get him to be serious and
Right.
stop partying, start drinking.
Right.
Then when we finally did break up, it was because he was drinking during the match, and I ended up snapping, and that's when I turned heel and chaotic. But just overall, a great human being. Have you ever had him on the show?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he lives in Nashua. He kayfabed me. I thought he lived somewhere else, and I'm talking to him on Skype, and I'm like, "You're in Nashua?"
Yeah, he was a character, and the fact that he's a father now is kind of terrifying. But great guy. We used to travel to shows a lot, and just no specific stories. He would just like to have a good time. That's why
Right.
his name was Good Time Vince
Yeah.
Vitalo. And I don't have any specific stories, but no bad memories with him. Great matches, great road trips, great locker room laughs. Just a good guy.
I like the dynamic that you had in the tag team.
Oh, it was cool.
fantastic.
Yeah.
All right, Ken Watson. Who was your inspiration to get into wrestling?
I wouldn't say I had one inspiration. I started watching wrestling. It was right before WrestleMania 4. That's when I got into wrestling. So, of course, Hulk Hogan and
Right.
Macho Man Randy Savage, Jake the Snake, the Ultimate Warrior, those guys.
Right.
When I finally decided to get into it, I don't know. I was a Bret Hart guy. Obviously, he was a big inspiration. He was a sharpshooter and
Yeah.
a lot of the stuff that he did in his matches. But there's not one inspiration. It was just I want to start doing this now. And then in 2000, I contacted Kowalski School and made the drive from Worcester to Malden and started training. So the inspiration was probably just I was a fan and I wanted to do
Right.
it. So yeah,
Nice.
not one person.
Okay, great. Dave Ratty's back. One of my favorite all-time New England favorites. Hopefully he's
appreciate
going to ask a question soon. Mav, how hot do you figure it was in that gym in Maine when we did the New England Independent Tournament?
Oh my goodness gracious. Okay, so that was, I think, I don't remember what part of Maine it was, but it was the New England Independent. Yeah, so I wrestled 3 matches that
Right.
night. And what I remember more about the matches was the restaurant after the show where all I did was drink water because I was so dehydrated. I don't remember where we were, somewhere off the highway. It was like a Bickford's or a Denny's or something. I didn't
Right.
even eat. I couldn't eat my meal because I was so dehydrated.
Wow.
I wrestled Maverick in the finals. I believe Dylan Cage in the opener and Wagner in the second match. And
Wow.
all 3 matches were probably 15 to 20 minutes.
Yeah.
So it was probably about an hour total of wrestling
Right.
in a hot building that did not have AC in the middle of July.
Yeah.
Very bad. Yeah. So how hot it was, whatever hell feels like.
It was
times
brutal.
10. Yeah. Yeah. Very hot. But great matches, great memories, and
Right.
the tournament had all the top guys from New England. But heat-wise, my God, I've never been more dehydrated in my
Really?
life. Very bad. Yeah.
All right. Joey Kilmartin's back too. Who's your favorite opponent? Luis Ortiz?
Yeah, I would say for sure Ortiz. Yeah, I mean I've got a lot of other guys that
Right.
I've had great programs with, but Ortiz has got to be number one.
Right.
Yeah, I mean you look at the chaotic feud, and then we did some matches for EWA with Dr. Heresy too.
Yep.
And if you ask Ortiz, he'll tell you that his favorite match between us was in Gardner, Mass for EWA. He was in front of his family was there and
Oh,
friends,
cool.
and we had a really good match. And the chaotic feud really kind of put us both on the map in this area. And we became friends after that. It's funny because when we were feuding, we weren't really friends. We were
okay.
friendly.
Right.
But I remember first meeting him at Kowalski's, and it wasn't that we didn't get along. It was almost like, I was like, I don't know if I like this guy because he was so intense. And again, I was new to the business. But then I realized this guy just is intense and wants everybody to be better.
Yeah.
And very selfless guy. Ortiz is awesome. And after we started feuding and wrestling so much, we became friends outside of the ring too. And just a great human being. A great father, great husband. And just a good guy, and loved wrestling.
Right.
I'm glad he stepped away because he did have some injuries.
Yeah.
And they were,
Right.
they were nagging him. But I'd love to wrestle him again.
Yeah.
But I'm not gonna have him see this. He gets tempted to do it.
All right. Andy Miller wants to know, what are your favorite and least favorite things about pro wrestling? Thank you, Andy.
Oh yeah, good question. My favorite things for sure is just the spectacle of it, right? It's competing, it's the fan interaction, it's suspending people's beliefs and going out there and putting on a good match, and in challenging yourself physically too. One of the reasons I come back every so often is like, okay, I get a match in a month. Let me get in really good shape, and it gives you almost a goal in the gym.
Right.
Look a certain way. So what brought me to pro wrestling in the first place is probably what I still like about it. It's just it's art, right? What I don't like about it, what it's become. There's so much. I don't know if you say kayfabe is gone. It's been gone for a while, and I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing because you can't change that.
Right.
I think too many people are in shows now that aren't prepared. And when you have these really low end matches and shows, it kind of takes away from the other stuff. It's like, oh, I'm going to go see independent wrestling tonight. Oh, I went last month. It was awful. Not knowing this might be a better, high quality company. So there's good and bad. We can nitpick the bad stuff, but overall, I think the business is still good. Yeah. And I don't want to be one of these older guys that just rags on everything new. It's, it's too fast. People don't sell. Things evolve. And you don't have to like it. And you can still keep that kind of old school mentality. You're not going to see me adapt a lot of this new school stuff. I'm not going to start doing all these crazy things. But if I go out there, I'm still getting a reaction. So it's on us to kind of present our style of pro wrestling, and hopefully the fans buy it. And if they're buying the stuff that I don't like, who am I to say that they're wrong doing it?
True.
Fans still like
true.
it. So,
and it's nice. There's so many places to work now for a wrestler. I mean, there's a lot of companies.
Yeah, I think if an independent wrestler wants to work every weekend, they can.
Yeah, and on top of it, no one's really saying you can't work here and you can't work there anymore, which is very refreshing.
That would happen back in the day, but not as often as you would think.
Oh, okay.
It was kind of subtle.
Right.
But yeah, I had some promoters not want me to work other places because they might not have liked the promoter.
Right.
And sometimes you'd honor that, sometimes you wouldn't, and that depends on how you felt about the person saying it.
Okay, great. Brendan McKenzie, you had some amazing matches with Luis Ortiz, but if you could pick one of them, which one stands out the most?
We did a title match, I think it was in Methuen for Chaotic, and Dr. Tom Pritchard from WWE was the special guest ref.
Nice. I love Dr. Tom.
Yeah, great guy. I think that's probably my favorite match with him because, I mean, it was long. It was like 40 minutes, but if you look back at it, we were both in the peak of our careers. We were in great shape. We executed everything perfectly, and the crowd, it was a build-up to that match. It wasn't like, we just had a good match on this show. We built that rivalry for so long, for almost a year before we wrestled. So when we finally did, the place was sold out. It was a title match. Dr. Tom was there. So I think that one.
That's awesome. Dr. Tom is very cool.
Yeah, but there's so many close seconds with Ortiz. It's not just, that's probably the one I can pick, though.
Okay, so this one is William Golian, Do It Bang. Do you not understand that?
Yeah, it's not a question. That's just a statement. But yeah, he's a friend of mine from out in California. And
all right. I figured I'd read it because, I figured they had to have something, you know?
I'll have to send him the link to the interview to know he made it.
All right. All right, JP Griffin, what's your favorite memory wrestling both on the national level and in the Northeast Indies?
Favorite memory, was that what it was?
Yeah, favorite memory wrestling on the national level and in the independents.
National level, I mean, when I was doing my Lucha Libre USA stuff, that was cool. And it wasn't because I was having these cutting edge matches, because of the publicity I was getting.
Right.
When I was on ABC Nightline, and I did this piece about anti-immigration, and this is how I really feel, and I was telling them that all these masked wrestlers need to be deported. I got hate mail the next day. I mean, death threats and stuff like that. Yahoo.com covered it, so I was all over the news, and that character was fun to play.
Right.
I would say that was the most fun I had on a national level because it was so topical. Immigration is something that people take very serious.
Yeah.
And when you're going in front of these Latino people, even though they know this is a show, you talk about immigration and the border, they're not taking it as a show.
Definitely not.
So it made my job easier. And then I'm feuding with Blue Demon Jr., one of the biggest stars in Mexico. And when we get out there, we don't have to do much because they hate me so much, they love him so much that the story's easy to tell and the match is easy to get across. So on locally, probably my Chaotic wrestling matches, my big time wrestling matches.
Yep.
They put me in with some great guys. You know, I got to wrestle Matt Hardy, RVD, Kevin Nash, Ric Flair refereed my match with Just Incredible. So every promotion here in New England, I feel really respected me, where they put me in with some good guys and I could learn from them. So just the overall career I had here in New England. Yeah.
Nice. All right. Brendan Daly. I saw him when he was big time wrestling champ. What was his favorite match when he wrestled in Webster, Massachusetts?
Webster, okay. I wrestled Tatanka in Webster.
Nice.
And that was so much fun. Basic match, 25, 30 minutes. He chopped the crap out of me. We're talking about Ric Fuller chops. Tatanka was pretty stiff too. But that match was good because it was against somebody that I watched growing up as a kid.
Right.
And it wasn't like, you're on WWE TV for 3 minutes as a squash match. This was a long 25, 30-minute story. Wrestling against somebody I watched when I was a kid.
Yeah, and a good worker.
Very good, and a nice guy. And then my first match ever with Matt Hardy was in Webster also. Okay. Another great match. And then the Just Incredible match where Ric Flair was the ref. He didn't ref. He came out afterwards because I ended up hitting him, and he came back at the end to count to 3. But another thing, like the Ortiz story, I was just telling, the Just Incredible feud was built up for so long. So when we finally did wrestle there, the place was sold out.
That's awesome.
Webster's a special building. I know ECW used to run there, and if Big Time does do another show in Webster, I'd love to be part of that. Just because of the nostalgia of the building, and I live 25 minutes from there.
It is a great build-up for wrestling, though.
Very good,
upstairs, it's really nice.
And they always drew well there too.
Yeah.
So I don't know if they're planning on going back or not, but
hopefully they will.
yeah.
All right, Todd Graham. You know Todd from Proving Ground Wrestling?
Yes, I have spoken to him. Yes.
Yeah. Not sure if he pays attention to the area at the moment, but if he does, are there any standouts he'd like to work with? That's a great question.
It's a good question. Unfortunately, I don't watch too much of this stuff, and I've been in Florida and California over the past 12 years, and when I do come back here, it's for a few months at a time, and I don't go to many shows. So the only real shows I've gone to is like Chaotic, some Beyond Wrestling shows. But Chaotic's had a lot of great young guys. Ricky Smokes. I went to the show last week where he wrestled Seabass Finn, and they went like 35 minutes in the main event. Great match, both those guys. And Seabass Finn, from what I understand, has only been in the business for like 4 years.
Yeah, not very long.
Yeah, so
not
those
very
two
long at all.
They put on a great show. Those two guys for sure. But when I do go up to the wrestling school, and I go see Mike and Scott a lot too, because Mike's my trainer, and there's a lot of guys. If I see them, I would know them, but I don't really remember their names. But because I've gone to actual shows, those guys I can actually name them. But I'm sure there's tons of them.
I'd love to see you wrestle Ricky Smokes. I'd love to see you wrestle Brad Baylor. I mean, there's a lot of impressive kids
Lots
out there
of them, yeah.
right now.
And when you're older than these guys and you get to go in there with some younger guys, not only do you say it's a cardio test too. It's like, can I still roll with these guys?
Right. So, and isn't it true though that you could learn something from a kid that's only been wrestling 3 years, right? I mean,
nobody, no matter how advanced you are, stops learning.
Right.
So I like to think when I was a couple years in the business, some of these guys that I wrestled that were older than me might have learned from me, and I definitely learned from them. Yeah, it's a learning process, and anybody who says, "Oh, I don't have to learn anymore," that's being arrogant.
Right. All right, I don't want to bring it down too much, but I do want to bring up a couple guys that have passed away.
Yeah, of course.
Xavier.
Oh, yeah, terrible. I remember, the worst part about that story is he had sent me a text maybe a couple weeks before about...
He was coming back.
He was coming back. He wanted to tag with me.
Oh, wow.
And, I didn't blow it off. I responded.
Right.
But it was like, nah, I don't really feel like wrestling right now. Let me let you know. And, he ended up passing like a month later.
Right.
Terrible. I mean, you talk about notoriety in Ring of Honor, the feud I had with him, that Fight Without Honor match. People still send me video clips of the ladder match.
That was an incredible match.
As an athlete, I can't imagine. He was this jacked guy doing these flips off the top onto ladders, and just a good human being.
Right.
From what I understand, a good father, good husband, and God, I mean, nobody should die that young.
No, and he was living in New England just before he passed. He had hit me up and asked me where he could train, and I was like, I hooked him up with Jose Perez. I'm like, okay.
I think he was like in Watertown or something, working security or something like that. Like, he was working security guard somewhere. But we got along well. Yeah. Had some good matches, good feud, and sorry, I get a little cough. But great guy.
Super nice.
Sad. Yeah. Anytime somebody that you've shared the ring with passes, it's sad. At that age, it's even sadder.
Right. Jay Briscoe.
Same sentiment as Xavier. Great human being.
Yep.
I mean, Jay Briscoe and Mark. I went back to Ring of Honor during COVID, and I did a taping in Baltimore for TV. I hadn't seen those guys in like 14 years, and they literally talked to me like we were neighbors and that we were buddies, and I hadn't seen them in a long time. They were like some of the most selfless wrestlers, because if you ask anybody who's wrestled the Briscoes, they're not like, I want to do this, and this. They're so laid back and professional, yet they're so confident in themselves that they don't have to overplan this stuff, and they would just go in there and you'd have these great matches, and it was never about them. Whatever you want to do, man, we'll do it. And and that was a car accident, right? Awful, terrible.
So I guess a lady came across the medium and smashed him head first.
Yeah, I haven't seen Mark since then. I did send him a private message that through Facebook Messenger, but I don't think he checks it. It might have been an old account. If I ever see him, of course, that's what I want to send my condolences. But Jay was awesome.
I seen him at the Beyond show that I was talking about. Not the Beyond, the Big Time Wrestling
Yes.
show. And it was funny because we went to get our pictures taken, and he's looking at me really weird. And I'm like, you don't remember? And he's like, you made me a sandwich.
Mm-hmm.
And you hear Mark, you made me a sandwich. You know how Mark is, you know
Yeah.
what I mean? All wacky. It was pretty cool.
And they're chicken farmers in Delaware.
Yeah.
They're the
Yeah.
most humble
Yeah.
humble guys. They're not these guys that are big stars or big league in you.
Right.
They're just family men, and yeah, very sad.
All right, referee Kevin Quinn. What's the longest match you have ever wrestled?
Ooh.
And against who?
Yeah, okay. Well, singles match. Okay, so when I wrestled for Ring of Honor, there was an 8-man tag. It was me, the Briscoes, and Jimmy Rave against Generation Next. It was like Alex Shelley, Austin Aries,
Jack Evans.
and who am I forgetting? Roderick Strong.
Oh,
Roderick Strong.
Yep.
That was probably like 55 minutes. That was an 8-man tag. So yeah, it was
Still long.
Baltimore, I think, in outdoor tent. So that was hot, humid. Probably the longest match I've been in. But as a singles match, I would say I wrestled Zack Sabre Jr. in England.
Yeah.
And we did rounds matches. There's a promoter out in England, John Fremantle, who does it's premier promotion. They do all rounds, the old
wow.
school way. I think we did like 8 rounds, and there were like probably about 45 minutes of wrestling.
Wow.
In the rounds, you do get like a little break to get
Right.
water. It's like a 30-second break. Probably that. And then I have had some other like 40-minute matches throughout the indies, but I've never really kept track of the time.
Okay.
But yeah, it's a long time to be in the ring.
Right. Really great fan of the show. Anthony Mark Balka says, favorite match with the one-night stand. I love them too, Anthony. And do you miss those chaotic days? If say why or why not? I would imagine you do.
Yeah, 1,000% you miss them. Great locker room. Early in the career, everyone's hungry. Everyone wants to
Right.
have a good time. And we'd all go out after the shows. And we all trained together too. So it was all the guys from wrestling school being put on this promotion that had TV. Yeah, great times. I could take that back and do it all over for sure. The one night stand, I think we only wrestled them once.
Oh, really?
Me and Vince Vicalo wrestled them for the tag belts, and I think it was a 2 out of 3. No, that was just a straight up tag match. That was I think the only time we ever wrestled
Wow.
them. So one match, fun. Edward G. Ecstasy's daughter's wrestling now.
Is he really? Is it Livia?
Believe so, yeah.
Wow.
I saw her at the Chaotic show recently.
She's
and
good.
Very good. And people were like, yeah, that's Edward G. Ecstasy's daughter. I was like, wow. And she's like 18.
Yeah, she's
and
very young.
Very good,
Yeah.
very athletic. And
It's in the genes.
yeah, absolutely, yeah. But him and Ronnie D were just,
Right.
they lived that gimmick.
Yeah.
But they were very good.
Yeah,
they were
they were
very
good.
good at playing those characters. So
And they broke in a good young Aaron Stevens.
absolutely, yeah.
You know what
yeah,
I mean?
Well, Aaron was part of the one night
Yeah.
stand too, but yeah, I think it was just that one match, and yeah, good guys.
Okay. Well, you worked a lot overseas. Could you tell us some of the places and who you wrestled?
First international tour was Japan
Yeah.
in 2004, I believe. I wrestled for Tatsumi Fujinami's promotion over there.
nice.
And I got to wrestle him. I teamed with him and wrestled singles against him.
Okay.
Phenomenal. I mean, what a star, what a legend, good guy. So I was over there for like 3 weeks, wrestled almost every night. That was probably the most fun I've had internationally in terms of the wrestling matches.
Right.
In terms of the camaraderie and the selling my merchandise, it was England.
Yeah.
England and Germany. Yeah. So I've wrestled in Japan, England, Germany, and New Zealand.
Oh, wow.
I'm not allowed in New Zealand anymore. So
No?
I think I'm banned from the country. I'll tell you in a minute. But England and Germany were fantastic because I would be out there for like 5 weeks at a time. I've done 3 tours there, and those were great. And I wrestled like Zack Sabre Jr., Joel Redmond, who was a guy that was in NXT for a while. A lot of these stars in Germany. He wrestles now. He's Walter's partner. What is his name?
Oh, yeah. Kaiser.
Kaiser.
Ludwig Kaiser. He's good.
On the Indies, he was Axel Dieter Jr.
Okay.
I wrestled him in Germany. And we still keep in touch here and there. But some little countryside in Germany, we wrestled. I wrestled a lot of these guys when they were early in their
Right.
careers, which was so cool. And you're seeing a different country. You're getting paid to travel.
Yeah.
It's awesome. So New Zealand, I was asleep while they were giving the customs speech about not bringing food in. And I had an apple in my bag. Totally forgot to eat it. And then they pulled me into a corner and tried to give me a fine. And I was like, well, I don't have any money with cash. They said, oh, we can take a credit card. I was like, I don't have a credit card. I lied to them.
Yeah, of course.
It's like $1,000 fine for an apple. And when I said for an apple, they screamed at me. It was like because pesticides and
Yeah.
the seeds. And
Oh, my God.
So the promoter said, yeah, if you don't pay, then you come back, you'll get deported and thrown in jail and thrown out. So I won't be going back there.
Yeah, I guess not.
Yeah.
I guess
But
not.
I wrestled Jay White in New Zealand, and that was
Nice.
great. Yeah, then that was
He's
before.
another impressive kid.
Fantastic. That was before he went to New Japan and really got into that
Right.
into that little string of fame he got into. I think he's with AEW now.
Yes,
Maybe.
yes.
I saw him recently at an AEW show like a year ago. Good match there, and that was right after Trump won the first election,
Yeah.
2016. So I went out there and basically said how America is so much better and had a Trump thing on the a picture of Trump up on the big screen. Yeah, so I got some pretty good heat for that. But man, anytime you go to a different country
Right.
and you get to expand your skills and wrestle different guys and see country, that's great.
That's awesome. All right. Well, Lucha Libre USA, you portrayed a conservative supporter of Arizona Governor Jan Brewer.
Yes.
And Arizona SB 1070 opposed to illegal immigration to the United States.
Right.
We talked about how much hate you had gotten. How did that gimmick come about?
So this was a time, I think it was like 2009 or 10, and I wasn't working indies anymore. I wasn't say that I was done, because I take breaks and then I
Right,
come back.
right.
And for the record, I never retire. I never
Yeah.
will. I just stopped taking bookings, and if I decide to take more, I do. Otherwise, if you don't hear from me again, that's it. I'm not going to put my boots in the ring
Right,
or have
right,
a music
right.
video.
No, I hear ya.
I just don't think that's
Yeah.
that's not me. But I was kind of on a little break, and I got a call from I believe it was Alex Abrahantes, who works for Lucha Libre USA now. He's the manager of the two Mass Lucha guys. I don't know. I don't follow the show that
Yeah.
much, but he's the manager,
Okay.
and he was the head writer.
Penta.
Yes.
Penta and his brother, Ray Phoenix.
Yeah. What are their names?
Penta I don't know the team
Okay.
name.
Well,
'cause-
Alex is their manager.
Oh,
Comes
okay.
out, comes
yeah,
out
yeah,
with
yep, I know exactly who you're
He's
talking
their
about.
mouthpiece. So, anyways, he had emailed me and said we're starting this company. Mark Jindrak from WWE is
Yep.
going to be like our talent scout. He wants to get in touch with you. And throughout your career, you always get these emails and calls like, we're starting a promotion.
Right.
And it's like, unless there's a plane ticket, I'm not going to take it serious. So he said, can Mark Jindrak call you? So Mark called me and said, we got this particular character. You were referred by somebody. And so I heard them out. They sent me a flight to LA. And actually the first taping was right outside of Palm Springs, where I ended up moving to down the line, ironically enough. And the casino we wrestled at was like 10 minutes from where I lived. But anyways, yeah, they were basically, this is the character we want you to play. And the character morphed over time to more of like a political character.
Right.
At first it was going to be like, okay, Jan Brewer's son, which we never said it.
Right.
Even though I think there are parody laws that would have covered us. We never said that was my mom.
Okay.
I just talked about how my mom is a very strong and important figure in
Right.
Arizona, and she passed this bill. But over time, I started getting more invested in the political side of it and started scripting my own promos and
Nice.
started doing these, kind of these little catchphrases. So over time, it morphed into more of a political character. But originally, it was just them, hey, we want a heel to go up against the Lucha Stars in Lucha Libre USA. And it kind of took over from there. And yeah, a lot of heat. Jan Brewer kept refusing comment.
Really?
Yeah, I remember one time I was doing a press conference, and the interviewer said we've contacted her, and she says, we know who he is. We've never commented, and we're not going to start now. And basically, it was just this. I was just jerk
Right.
from the States that wanted everybody unmasked and deported because you're taking our jobs in the wrestling ring, so
Right.
you need to head back south. And it was a fun character to play. In the end, it's theater.
Right.
And a lot of people take it serious because it's immigration. And I'm not telling anybody how to feel, but it's pro wrestling. Some people took it very seriously.
Right. Oh, yeah.
If I showed
I
you
can
my
imagine.
if I showed you my inbox.
Right.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
All right. Well, you applied to several wrestling schools
Mm-hmm.
and joined Killer Kowalski's. What was the reason that you chose Walter School?
I mean, not to say that the school wasn't good, but the main reason I chose it is because how close it was to where I lived.
Okay.
I was in college at the time. I was 20, so I was a junior. I was done playing football. I wanted to start wrestling. I think I emailed like Les Thatcher's school.
Okay.
I emailed a couple other schools. I don't remember where else, maybe some down in Florida. The plan was to graduate college and then start wrestling, so that's why I was reaching out to these out-of-state schools.
Right.
But when Kowalski responded, sent me a letter saying, this is our schedule, these are our fees, tuition costs. I said, let me just go check it out. And it was an hour and a half from my college. So I said, there's no reason I have to wait till after school when it's right here. So I joined in January of 2020. And I remember walking up those stairs, the same story you'll hear from everybody. You walk up the stairs and you see Kowalski sitting right in that chair, intimidating figure.
Yeah.
And I was like, I want to start wrestling. And he just pulled me aside. And Mike Hollow was the head trainer.
Yeah.
That's where I met guys like Aaron Stevens and Ortiz and Vicalo. And that was it. After that, I think the next week I signed up. I think I had
was quick.
I think I had some money saved. My mom gave me a little bit. And as much as she did not like wrestling, she didn't want me to do it.
Right.
My parents never discouraged me from doing it. But
I met your dad.
oh
Very
yeah.
nice guy.
Yeah, he's still around. He's still the same.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and yeah, that was it. Wrestling career took off from there. But because it was close to, it was in Massachusetts, I said, I'm not waiting. I want to start now.
Okay.
So if I did wait till after college, who knows where I would have went.
Right.
But that was,
Okay, well, I got a friend of yours, Tom Burnson. You know
Tom, yeah.
John, my friend, hope to see you while you were here. Are you going to continue these brief returns and then retire again? But you just said you never retire.
Nope. Like I said, I'm not going to ever make an announcement saying I'm retired. I never have, never will. I'm not going to say, hey, watch this video of my highlights of my career. Just one day I'll stop taking bookings. It might be soon. It might be in a year.
Right.
You know, the body tells you when to stop. And I'm not out there making millions and millions of dollars. So it's a little different when people who are making a ton of money have a hard time letting go.
Right.
On the independent level, it's a little easier.
Yeah.
It should be easier for some people because you see some people hold on for so long and then they might have some get paralyzed or have some career-ending injury, God forbid. I feel good. I'm in shape. I keep myself in shape all the time. So I'm home now. I want to do a couple matches. And if I feel good, I might continue. But maybe after the next couple of weeks, I might not wrestle ever again. And
True.
when will I know? In a couple of years, when I'm done taking bookings. So I just stopped taking bookings when I'm not interested in wrestling anymore. And then one day that will all come to an end. And it's been a good run. I have no regrets. I loved every minute of it, but it's going to come to an end for everybody, right? At some point.
All right, so before we play the name game with like local guys and stuff, I'd like to talk to you about some of the WWE guys you worked.
Okay.
You worked Team Angle with Chad Wicks.
Yeah, no. Well, Team Angle was actually with Aaron Stevens.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry.
Yeah. It was. I believe it was a SmackDown taping. It was me and Aaron Stevens against Charlie Haas and Shelton Benjamin. Yeah. It was a squash match, but we went 5-6 minutes.
Oh, nice.
I just remember the finish. If you watch it on TV, Shelton Benjamin gives me like an atomic drop, and then Charlie Haas super kicks me.
Oh, wow.
And if you watch it on TV, it looks like he took my head off.
Nice.
And I remember everyone in the back was like, "Are you okay?" And I didn't feel a thing.
Isn't that the best?
It's the greatest thing ever. When then you have other ones that look like crap, and you get a black eye. So there's that. But yeah, I remember anytime we were back there and we were on national TV. Dark matches are cool because you're still in front of 15,000 people. Right. But the actual TV televised matches, that's neat. It's like, 'cause shit, how many millions of people are seeing this? Even if you're only in an enhancement role, it's still cool.
Right, absolutely.
So the Team Angle match was good, and those guys were just big and strong and intense, and great tag team.
Nice.
Yeah.
The great workers. How about this guy I know you wrestled? Mortis.
Mortis, yeah.
Canyon.
Mortis, and he passed away.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah, Mortis' match was a dark match. Actually, Ilya Markopoulos recently sent me a video of that match.
Oh, nice.
I guess it was on YouTube, like Mortis's lost dark matches that were never televised. And I remember watching the match. I said, "Holy crap, he gave me so much offense."
Did he?
Almost like
They say he was a wicked sweet guy, man.
Very nice guy. In fact, I remember when we met backstage. I think it was in Albany, New York. I could be wrong, but I remember how giving he was. It's like, "What do you want to do? Do you want to give this to me? Give this to me?" And I was just like, "This is your match, not mine."
Right.
And you, like I said, watch the match. You'll see. I'm literally like beating the crap out of him for so long. It's kind of bizarre. But I remember a quick Mortis story. I remember him messaging me on Facebook, maybe like years later.
Yeah.
He said, I just watched our match. I didn't realize we wrestled. He said, was I a jerk to you? Did I give you too much? So even after we had wrestled, he was still kind of checking to see how did I behave.
Yeah.
So, and a lot of his close friends will say what a good guy he was, but demons. Demons, a lot of people have them, and in this industry especially.
Absolutely. You also had a tag team match. Maybe this is where you teamed with Chad Wicks. Kevin Furtig, which was Mordecai, I would imagine, and Travis Tomko.
That was Chad Wicks. Yes, it was me and Chad versus those two guys. What I remember about that match is it was kind of a last-minute booking, and I'm not a very tan person, but on TV you want to get tan.
Yeah.
Somebody, it might have been Arch Kincaid or it might have even been Chad, gave us this self-tanner to put on like the day of the show. Well, we ended up putting it all over ourselves, and when we went out for the match, they had to change the canvas before they went live on Raw because our self tanner was all over the place, and they were pissed. They were so mad. I don't remember who it was, Arn Anderson or Dean Malenko. Somebody come back and say, "Don't ever put that shit on again," because it was all over the canvas.
Right.
But those guys were two big monsters, and I don't remember anything about the match, but. Nobody really mistreated us back there.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right, well, this was one of my favorite tag teams in the WWE, especially at the time. Paul London and Spanky.
Oh, and two of my favorite guys, too. Yeah. Yeah, I haven't seen either one of them in a long, long time. But that was me and Bryan Danielson against London and Kendrick. That was for Velocity, I believe. Yeah, great. That match got cut a lot for TV. If you watch the TV version, it's like 3 or 4 minutes, but we went about 9 or 10.
Oh, nice.
And
they were such a good team.
Good team, yeah. And that was before Danielson really, before Danielson got signed or before he was really a big star. At this point, I think it was probably 2003 or 4. So Bryan Danielson was a star, like Ring of Honor and stuff like that.
Right.
But I remember him, and Chad Collier was another guy, Ring of Honor guy. We actually traveled together to TV.
Oh, nice.
And Danielson, I had a new house in Brimfield, Mass, and Danielson slept on my wood floors, and he was as comfortable as can be. That was a guy who...
He is a great guy.
And he earned every penny he made, because that guy would fly himself over to like England and Japan just to learn how to wrestle and sleep on floors. And so, another guy we were talking off the air about good guys who make it. And it's like, that's a good human being who earned every dollar he made. So I'm happy he did that.
Well, seeing that you brought that part up, good guys making it, you earlier talked about Handsome.
Yes.
Ivar.
Yeah, oh yeah, yeah.
If he would have quit, nobody would have batted an eye with all his injuries that he had over the years, and he just kept at it and kept at it. To me, as a fan, one of my favorite moments of seeing anybody local make it to TV was his knowing how hard it was for him.
I agree, and he's a naturally big guy.
Yeah.
So those injuries are going to take a toll on somebody who's already bigger and already carrying so much more weight on those joints. And I wasn't privy to the information of how many injuries he had, but I heard about it after the fact.
Yeah.
But I remember he was out a lot in training, and he was getting injured, and
he kept at it.
Yeah, he kept at it, and a lesser man would have quit.
Yeah.
But again, you're not going to hear anybody say anything negative about him.
Right.
Who's going to be like, oh, he's a jerk, or he refused
nobody
to,
says that.
he refused to loosen me. No, he's just a good human being who worked hard, made it, and got his breaks and earned it. And you got to be happy for people like that.
Absolutely. All right, last one. Chris Masters. Did he put you in the master lock?
Yeah. So Chris Masters. I wrestled him in his second match in WWE, and you know what happened in his first match?
No.
He broke Stevie Richards' nose.
Oh, yes.
So this is actually a funny story. I got booked for Monday Night Raw.
Yeah.
I didn't see the week before. I got to TV, and Arn Anderson pulled me aside, and he's like, Arn Anderson's like, John, I'm so sorry, but we're gonna have you work Chris Masters today. We know you can sell for him, make him look good. They're just building me up to go, sending the lamb to slaughter. But I remember like Brian Kendrick and Paul London saying, what are you doing tonight? I said, I'm working with Chris Masters. Like, oh, dude, I'm sorry. And like Jimmy Yang, another guy I was friendly with, oh, dude, be careful. I didn't know what they were talking about.
Right.
So I went out there to wrestle. I'm in the ring. Commercial break, and they come back. They show the highlights of him breaking Stevie's nose. This is the first time I see it.
Yeah.
So I'm in the ring watching. I'm like, holy shit.
Oh, no.
So he comes out. We do the match, and
Right.
he gives me that thing. And I remember I had my chest way out, my face way back, like
Yeah.
that, because I was like, I don't want to get my face broken. But he was good. He's a big guy. When you're that big,
Yeah.
you're gonna be a little stiff.
Yeah.
He was pleasant, nice guy, and I've seen him on shows since then. Chris Masters, very nice guy.
Yeah.
And then I remember getting to the back, and I had a voicemail from Stevie Richards. He called me, said, I saw you in the ring and I freaked out. How was it? Because he wasn't at TV because he was nursing his face.
Nose, yeah.
So, funny story, but not funny at the time. I was like, God, this is why they were saying, I'm sorry.
Right.
And he was green at the time, too.
Yeah.
I mean, a monster, good physique, huge. And he was a good wrestler.
Yeah.
He was just, I think, green for WWE TV, and accidents happen.
What'd you hear about? He saved his mom from a burning fire.
Did he throw a tree into a window?
Broke a tree and put it in art. That's just crazy story, but just goes to show what he'd do for his mom.
And it shows how strong he is.
Yeah. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so we'll get to the local guy. Most of these guys you have wrestled.
Okay.
Or teamed with. But I like Chris Dickinson.
I've never wrestled Chris Dickinson.
You were in a tag team, 6-man.
I'm wrong, yes. I wrestled him at the Ring of Honor pay-per-view
Yep.
maybe a couple of years ago.
Yep.
It was him and
Homicide. And
Homicide.
I didn't
it
write
was,
the other person.
Tony Deppen
Oh, yep. You're right.
against me, LSG, and Lee Moriarty.
Yep.
Yes. That was the first time I've ever been in the ring with Dickinson.
Oh, wow.
And we didn't have many exchanges in there, maybe a few things.
Right.
But very intense.
Very
guy. I don't know if
intense
he
guy.
wrestles anymore.
I haven't seen him. I know he's banging on those drums like a maniac.
Yeah. He was always very respectful to me. I never had any dealings with him
Right.
inside the ring. But I've seen his stuff and intense.
Yeah.
Intense but I don't know him personally to make
Right.
it.
Nice guy to fans, too. He was always nice
Good.
to me every time I saw him.
Good.
I just saw this guy's last New England appearance, and he's a legend from New York, Homicide.
Oh, Homicide's great. Yeah. Another guy, whether you met him 20 years ago and saw him tomorrow, he's the same.
Yep.
Homicide does not have an ego.
None.
He's one of those guys that's wrestled everybody, wrestled all over the world, respected by almost all these wrestlers.
Yeah.
And you look at guys like CM Punk and Samoa Joe and Danielson, they'll all say how he's one of their favorite
Yep.
guys. I think he helped train Low-Ki as well. I've had great matches with him. He's not light in the ring. He hits you.
Yeah.
But another guy who's very selfless. Whatever you want to do, man, let's just go out and do it. And always in a good mood.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
No,
think-
great guy.
yeah. I'm a big Homicide fan.
Me too.
Yep.
All right. MJF. Got to bring him up.
Wrestled him once.
Yeah.
Chaotic.
I was going to say chaotic.
Yeah, it was in 2018. I was home for 4 months and I did some shows.
Okay.
That was the same little loop I did when I wrestled Jonathan Gresham, wrestled Josh Briggs, wrestled JT Dunn. I did some chaotic matches, some big time matches.
Nice.
And at that time, he was only, I think, a couple of years into the business.
Yeah.
We had a really good match, very humble. I know he plays this character. Don't
Yeah.
think that's who he is. I'm not trying to blow.
Probably not.
Yeah, I'm not trying to blow his.
Because he's
spot.
a real jerk on television.
Yeah, and maybe some of the real him is
Yeah,
coming out. And I
maybe.
think sometimes the best characters are extensions of your true self. But yeah, I mean, ever since that match, always polite to me. I've been backstage at AEW a couple times, and I know he's doing well. He's one of their big stars up there, and not a surprise.
Right.
You know, when I wrestled him, he was very polished for somebody that had only been wrestling for a few years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I saw him I went to one Limitless show. Me and my buddy were in his car waiting to go in, and he gets out of the back seat of a car, and he was smiling, talking to his friends, and all of a sudden he locked eyes with us, right into character. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was hilarious.
Yeah, and that's good. And you have a lot of these guys that it's like, oh, he was a jerk to me at the autographs. And well, it's like, if you're going to cheer him for being a heel, but then you don't want to be healed out.
Right.
It's not going to make an exception for you.
His best one, though, honestly, was a kid in a wheelchair.
Okay.
Comes up and he goes, look what I can do. And he stands up and starts moving around. I mean, luckily everything was cool, but
Well, and the kid in the wheelchair probably loved it.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Sometimes people with disabilities, they want to be included,
Yeah.
and they don't want self-pity.
Right.
They don't want pity. They want people to treat them like every other
Right.
person. So I'm sure that was a good experience for the kid.
all right, how about a guy I know you worked quite a bit? Toto Loco.
Yeah,
Benny.
Benny. Singles matches, maybe once.
Oh, okay.
Tag matches against him a couple times. Benny, another guy. These are all guys that just care. You know, they want to go out and have good matches. The worst is when you wrestle somebody that just doesn't. It's like whatever. I have no
Right.
enthusiasm to go out there. He was the opposite. And I know when I used to go to Bo Douglas's school, he'd always be there helping out
Yeah.
and training. And I've got this idea. Very athletic too. And Benny's-
Surprised he didn't go further.
Yeah,
honestly.
does he still wrestle?
Not really, no. I don't think so. Sorry if you still are, Benny, but I haven't seen him work in a while.
Yeah, again, I know a lot of these guys wrestled for big time when
Right.
they were wrestling, doing shows every month or every couple months, and now that they've cut back, maybe
Yeah.
these guys are just not wrestling as much.
Because he was working for big time all the time.
Yeah, and he
know,
was a
then it stopped.
he was a Richard Byrne guy. I mean, he
Yes.
trained with Richard Byrne, and then when Bo opened his place, I believe he went over and trained there. But yeah, great guy, and he's a lot funnier in person backstage than you
Yeah.
would think. Yeah,
He had
quiet. You got to crack him though.
Yeah, he had some good matches with Alec Price when Alec was brand new.
Okay.
You know, but of course, obviously, they're at the school working together.
Yeah.
They had a match at UFO for Pat Dillon. It was unbelievable.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
It followed Malonis and Dickinson.
Oh,
And
okay.
I looked at my friend Daryl and said, who's going to follow that? And
And they did. Yeah.
it was unreal.
And when you train with a guy, that helps in
Right.
your matches because you've already know their tendency. That's why Ortiz and I, could have such good matches with each
Right.
other. We wrestled so many times, and I knew his stuff.
Yep.
We did one match real quick where I was late to the building. It was a big time wrestling match. I showed up late because I worked a day job, and Steve Perkins said, "Oh, you're after an intermission. You're on in an hour."
Right.
Well, he called me. We're not doing an intermission. So I was the next match. I hadn't even pulled into the building yet.
Right.
I parked my car. I was walking into the arena. I walked like around the lobby.
Yeah.
Psycho Sid wrestled on that match. He
wow.
He choke slammed his opponent 1, 2, 3. We were the next match. I hadn't even put my gear on yet.
Wow.
So I put Ortiz like, oh, just call it in there. This is the finish. And then Johnny Fabulous, John Cena Sr. was my manager. I said, you got to buy me 5 minutes. Go out there on the mic and buy me
Right.
5 minutes. When I put my thumb out the curtain, that means I'm ready. Because I was tying my
Yeah,
boots.
yeah.
I wasn't even ready.
Right.
But we had a great match. Nobody would have known that I just got to the building because when you know somebody well,
Right.
you don't need to prepare.
How'd you like working with Johnny Fabulous?
Oh, fantastic.
What an
Yeah.
incredible guy.
I mean, another guy who doesn't have to be out there bumping,
Yeah.
but loves it. And again, I've lost touch with him. I don't know if he's still doing any independent shows.
Oh,
or
he's
not.
still doing something.
Yeah, where does he usually?
Oh, he's
appear?
actually got something coming up soon like that. I want to say it might even be Proving Ground or NCW. Jimmy Allen.
Okay.
Sometimes he'll do New World Wrestling
Okay,
Extreme.
you'll have to send me the link, and I'll have to go
Yeah.
and see him. But yeah, he was great. Yeah,
Wicked. That he's been on here, and he just is the nicest guy.
he is. Yeah,
he really
and
is.
he loves wrestling.
Yeah, no doubt. All right, how about Mike Cruel?
Oh, so good in the ring. Mike Cruel was a total package. I mean, he looked good. He was this big,
Yeah.
strong guy. Technical wrestling, could power moves, and then he did get signed to WWE, and he was down in Florida, Florida Championship Wrestling, because I think at one point that was the developmentally before NXT
Yeah,
opened.
Florida Champion. Yeah,
Yeah.
FCW.
And I wrestled him in Chaotic. I did a show at his high school.
Oh, wow.
He put on like a charity show at his high school, and I wrestled him there. Prince Nana was my manager, and Mike Cruel got the heroes welcome, everyone from his neighborhood. And I wrestled him in Chaotic, I think, a couple times for Jim Kettner in ECWA. Down in Delaware, we wrestled a bunch of times. Mike Cruel was great. Definitely should have gone further. I don't think he ever made it to TV or the main roster.
Right.
And from what I understand, he just left the business. I haven't talked to him in ages. Don't know
Right.
what he's doing, but always had good memories of him.
All right, how about Brian Malonis?
Malonis. We ask each other the same question all the time. Are you miserable? And the answer is always yes. Yeah, Malonis is great. Malonis will tell you when he first started,
Yeah.
he was his own worst enemy.
Right.
Kind of had
He
an
did- he
attitude
has
and an
said
ego.
that.
And it's funny because he says it. I never really noticed it.
Right.
I've always been one that stayed out of like the whole drama of wrestling. It's like I want to go in there, I want to have good matches, I want to
Right.
help people. If I can go help out, if I can give some advice, if I can be helped by other people. But when this guy's got a bad attitude, unless I directly see it, I don't know. But I did hear the whisperings back in the day that he didn't want to help out, didn't want to do ring crew. But once he really started applying himself and looked in the mirror and said, I'm the problem, like anybody, right?
Right.
You have to admit that you're not perfect. And once you have humility to admit that we're flawed, that's when you improve. And I think once he did that, he became so much of a better worker. And then he had that run in Ring of Honor.
I was just going to bring that
with his
up.
tag team
Yeah.
partner. And when I went back for those COVID tapings, I wrestled. I think Malonis was on my team.
Yes, and
Yeah.
you took on, it was like a five
Yeah.
versus five.
And his opponent, partner, was on the other team.
Bear City Bruiser.
Yeah, and they had a really good gimmick there,
Yeah.
drinking beer and fighting
did.
and stuff like that. And I think when that ended, probably when AEW bought Ring of Honor.
Pretty much.
Yeah, and I don't know. I don't talk to him much,
Right.
but I don't know if he's wrestling anymore. Somebody told me he was taking a break.
No, he's wrestled a little now.
Okay.
But he's training guys at the Beyond School
Yes,
too.
and I plan on
which is
going.
great.
I plan on going up there one night and seeing him.
Nice.
Yeah, but I've always gotten along with Brian well.
He did some vignettes for Ring of Honor with Session Martina. That was unbelievably so good.
Yeah.
And he's like, cause she's a drunk, and he's like, what a woman! Oh God, you
love
have
it.
to see it. It was amazing.
He's a good-natured guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, Tommaso Ciampa.
Oh yeah. How many times did I wrestle Tommaso? Chaotic a couple times. I wrestled him at the Bell Time Club, I think, once. Or one of those. Wasn't there when Jason Rumble was
Yeah,
running
the
shows?
FCW shows.
It was like up kind of on the top.
Yeah, behind 7-Eleven.
Yeah, and I think if there was like 15 people, it would have been
Yeah.
a sellout.
Yeah,
it was a small building.
Yeah,
I wrestled
very
him.
small building.
I wrestled him there, and I wrestled him for Chaotic for a couple times. And I remember when he first started at the Chaotic Training Center, or I think he started at Kowalski's and then went over to Chaotic too. I don't remember what year he started, but another guy who had a lot of injuries, right?
yeah.
talking
did.
about Handsome Johnny. Another guy who had a lot of injuries and just kept pushing. And I remember when he did the little angle on SmackDown when he was he like the lawyer or something? He got
Oh,
choke
yeah,
slammed.
yeah, for the Undertaker.
Yeah, and I think he had gotten
No, Muhammad Hassan.
Yeah, but wasn't the Undertaker that choke slammed him?
Yes, that's what I'm saying. He was the lawyer for Muhammad Hassan.
Yeah, what I remember about Tommaso was he got signed but then released.
Yes.
And then went and did a bunch of indie stuff and then got re-signed. And
Yeah.
that's really the test is when you get signed, you taste it and then you get let go.
Right.
Who's going to stay with it?
Yeah.
So yeah, props to him. Yeah, for
Nice.
sure.
All right. How about well, you said you wrestled Big Kevin Nash, my girlfriend's favorite wrestler.
Yeah,
Because he's big sexy, not because he's a
Of
great
course.
wrestler.
Yeah. Well, the Nash match was up in Maine somewhere for Big Time Wrestling.
Okay.
It was like an 8-minute match.
Yeah.
Real basic. But Nash is a funny guy. And he's had a lot of bad luck. His son passed away, and then Scott Hall.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I've seen some of his podcast videos, and I like his theory on wrestling. A lot of his opinions on wrestling I do agree with, and that's a guy who's made a lot of money in wrestling. He's been around a
Sure.
long time and made a lot of money, not really taking a lot of bumps.
Right.
I mean, isn't that the American dream?
Yeah.
So but our match was very basic. I don't remember much about it. It wasn't like amazing or it wasn't
Right.
bad. It was kind of like, hey, we're the main event, a basic heel versus babyface match, and he's Kevin Nash, so
Yeah.
he jackknifed me and powerbombed me, and that was pretty much the end of it. But yeah, no bad
right.
feelings at all.
This guy was just released by the WWE, but Tony Khan came calling right away. Bobby Lashley.
Okay, so when did it was me and Rick Fuller against Bobby Lashley and I want to say Wagner, Slick in Maine for Big Time.
Yep.
Lashley,
It was,
yeah.
yes.
Okay, Lashley held me up in one of those vertical suplexes for like a minute. He's so strong, and I remember that weekend was the weekend Batista made his MMA debut. Remember Batista?
yeah,
And I think it was
yeah.
up here, wasn't it?
It was local, yeah.
Yeah, and I remember Lashley just the next morning we saw each other at the hotel. He was like, "Did you see it?" Because we were talking
Yeah.
MMA, and I was like, "Yeah, it wasn't good at all." And Lashley was a guy who was in a Strike Force, and I think Bellator maybe. But
Yeah,
he done a bunch of.
he's undefeated as an MMA guy too. He's like 4-0.
Yeah, and I mean, what an athlete.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
to be that big, that fast, and to look that good. I mean, like Brock Lesnar, right?
Right.
No human being that big is supposed to be that fast.
Right. Very true.
Yeah.
Very true.
So, but Lashley, light as a feather in the ring. Nice guy.
Nice.
Very
Well, when the WWE let him go and Tony Khan signed him, before we saw him on TV, myself, I was like, he's kind of older.
Mm-hmm.
But after seeing him and MVP and Shelton the first time in the ring, they were the best act on the whole show.
Are they good? Good.
They really were.
Well, a lot of times it's how you're used.
Yeah.
It's not so much who you are.
Right.
I mean, look at some times where WWE made guys stars that weren't stars in a territory,
Yeah.
and vice versa.
Right.
I feel like if a company really wants to get behind you and put you over, they can.
Right.
It's just whether you can run with it.
It's weird because, like you just said, like that exact example though, like the Miz.
Mm-hmm.
Remember they built the Miz all the way up, and then they cut the legs out
Yeah.
from him. Not even a year later. Kind of
But
frustrating to see as a fan.
For sure. I mean, the Miz was he a reality star,
Yeah.
right? But look what he's gotten.
Yeah.
Look at the money he's
Exactly.
made and famous, and he started off as a guy who said, "I'm going to be a pro wrestler from a reality."
And he
show." Good for him.
did it,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah.
That's why I like the Miz. And he did pretty well with the wife.
Yeah, oh,
department, too.
yeah. Well, anytime somebody applies themselves and chases something, you have to respect them, even if you don't like the person.
Right.
I'm not saying that about the Miz. I've never met him.
No, I
But
hear you.
how can you not respect somebody that chases something, works at it, and gets it?
Exactly. All right, local guy, former world champion, Eddie Edwards.
Oh, he's so good. Yeah. I don't watch TNA. I think he's still there.
Yeah, he's still there. He is.
But another guy who's just, you see him in the ring, you're like, oh, this is this intense guy. But then outside of the ring, he's the biggest clown.
Yeah,
And
that's
it's
what George always says. He's very funny and stuff.
biggest goofball. You
Yeah.
go out to eat with him or to a bar, it's like he's always the one cracking jokes. But then you go into the ring with him, he just chops the shit out of you. Great athlete. Yeah, he was another guy early on in the Kowalski days. I think he started probably a few years after me. And then he stuck around at Walters when Chaotic kind of broke away.
Right.
And trained with Wagner. And then we used to do two CW shows in upstate New York. And
Yeah.
I wrestled him a bunch there. And then I think I wrestled him a couple times for like Sheldon and NECW. But Never had a bad match with him.
Yeah,
Ever.
no. Eddie is fantastic.
Yeah, and very easy to work with. Light,
Yes.
light in the ring, yeah.
All right, another local guy, Flip Gordon, who he hasn't been local in a long time. I think
Yeah.
he's in Mexico.
Okay, I've never wrestled singles with him. He was in that 10-man tag for Ring of Honor.
Gotcha.
It was like a Christmas Christmas
Yeah, that's
match.
right here. I got them all down here.
I think, was he on my team or was he?
He was on your team.
Yes. Okay. So yeah, I've never been in the ring with him, but talk about a guy that can do all these moves and backflip, stand up from God, it's just insane.
I think Chase was here on the show, Chase DeMonte, and he said to me why he felt Flip was so good, aerial style. His balance.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
His balance, Chase said, was unbelievable.
Yeah, I've seen that guy do backflips and land on his feet, then do another backflip onto the floor and land on his feet. I mean, God, I climb to the top rope, I get nervous. That's why I've always been a mat wrestler.
Right, right.
Not that I haven't done any flying, but
Yep.
when there's guys like that do it so well, someone like me that's going to do it average, I'd rather just do strikes and submission moves. Wrestling's a variety show. There should be something for everybody.
Right.
And when you're on a show with somebody like that, let him do the flips.
Nice. All right. So I just brought him up. Chase Del Monte.
Oh yeah, another guy I wrestled.
So good.
Yeah, Chaotic maybe 2 or 3 times. I was up at the school recently.
Yep.
And we have a good relationship.
Nice.
He's kind of one of those, if the door's open, if anytime you want to come back and wrestle. And
That's cool.
And he's another one that I don't think he wrestles much anymore. It's more.
No, but he does a little bit.
He does. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's running the business side. He got a lot of students up there. And really dedicated. From what I've heard, he puts a lot of money back into the school, which is really good. You get a lot of people that start businesses, wrestling schools, or any businesses. Like,
They just
I'm going to
want
put everything
the
in my
money.
pocket,
Yeah.
and infrastructure is
good.
breaking down. It's like restaurants or bars. Like, oh, I made all this money, but then your windows are blown
Right.
out. So he's reinvested. I know he bought a 3rd ring.
Yeah.
And the Chaotic shows have been good, and a lot of those
Very
guys,
good.
those guys are well trained. So that
Yes.
says something about him.
Yes.
But yeah.
And he went from the silent partner to the guy in the front. But when he was with Brian.
Yes.
Because I remember asking him on here, because Brian would always have a silent partner. And I said to him, he goes, yes, it was me all along.
Yeah.
And he's very talented.
Yeah, absolutely. And
Very
I didn't
talented.
know. I don't know if I knew that they had it together, but I did go back in 2018 when I wrestled MJF, and they were I think they were both owners at that point. But
Excellent.
anything that happens backstage, I'm not really good at. I've kept away from all that stuff. I don't like drama. I don't like dirt. I don't like who's running this. It's like, where am I wrestling? How much am I getting paid?
Right.
And am I going to be safe? And I'm going to get home the same night. That's really all I've cared about. Wrestling's got a lot of drama, and I stay away from it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, too much of it.
One of the hottest wrestlers in New England right now, and it has been for a couple of years, JT Dunn.
Yeah, I wrestled him for Chaotic one time. Great match. We probably went about 18, 20 minutes. First time wrestling. We've only wrestled once. And I know he's expressed interest in doing it again, and I'd like
Nice.
to. For sure, yeah. And that's another guy who you go out there and you wrestle him, the match is going to be good.
Yeah.
And another guy, I think, when he first started, I don't know if there was a lot. I don't know if he was as respected as he is now.
Right.
You built.
He'll say that
Right.
he wasn't.
You build that up over time.
Yes.
You have good matches. You work on your reputation. You work on the way you conduct yourself, and he definitely has done that. So yeah, good match. Good. All around good.
All right, one last name, and it's JT Dunn's baby's grandfather, Jose Perez.
Yeah, and I just talking to Palladino, I just realized that was the connection there, and I think Jose's another guy. I think I might have only wrestled one time.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And he wasn't a Kowalski guy, I don't believe.
No,
he
I
was
don't
training in Rhode Island,
Yes.
so we didn't really interact too much. I have a good relationship with him. If I see him, I would say hello, but I don't remember our match much, to be honest. I think it might have been
that's cool.
for NECW. You get so many matches under your belt. Sometimes you forget the ones, unless you've wrestled somebody a bunch of times.
Right.
When it's like a one-time match, it's like,
Yeah.
ooh, what?
He had a good team with Don Vega.
Okay.
Wreaking Havoc. That was really good.
And does he still wrestle?
Yeah.
Does he?
Yeah, a little
Okay.
bit. Yeah, not a lot here and there. You know what I mean? But
Yeah, and I haven't seen him in a while. Either.
John, thanks for
thank you,
coming
Leo.
on, man.
My pleasure.
Honestly.
Yeah, I had fun. Absolutely,
right.
man. Thanks.
guys, we're out. Peace.
Hi, guys. I hope you're enjoying the show. Listen, I could use a little help to grow my YouTube channel. So if you could please like, share, and subscribe. That's most importantly, subscribe. Send me a direct message, and I'll give you a shout out here on the show. My YouTube channel is real simple. It's just my name, Leo Connors. Thanks in advance. Peace.